Are you ready for some football?
We made it! What is going on, Jet fans? I am Matt O'Leary here to prep you for Jets Browns preseason football. I don't care that it's not the regular season. I don't care that none of the starters are going to play. The Jets play real, live, freaking football tomorrow. I am so excited. I'm going to get into what I think are the biggest storylines for this game. I'm going to be there in attendance. If you are going out to Canton, Ohio for the Hall of Fame weekend, please say hello. Myself, Jake Asman, Boy Green, we are doing a get-together on Friday night. Come join us at Jersey's in the Belden location. And then on Saturday, we have the Hall of Fame induction. I am so excited for this weekend that is going to be filled with football. And it starts with the New York Jets taking on the Cleveland Browns in the Jets' first preseason game. So Zach Wilson will start for the New York Jets. The former second overall pick from the 2021 NFL draft class will be the starting quarterback. He was the Jets starter the last 2 years and now is serving as a backup quarterback and more than likely will be QB2. Yes, you have Tim Boyle and Chris Streveler on the roster, but neither one of those guys I think will legitimately try to push. Well, they'll try, but I don't think they'll be successful in pushing Zach Wilson out of that QB2 spot. So what do we see out of Zach Wilson? What version of Zach Wilson will you get in the preseason? Because last year in the preseason, before he got hurt, didn't look good. He threw an interception and then got injured on those were his two possessions with the football. The offense was struggling. He missed a couple passes as well. It was a little errant passes. So that's what I'm looking for. Are you seeing more of the happy feet in the pocket? Is he bailing on the pocket and doing the crazy 10-yard drop back spinoramas in the backfield, making you scratch your head? Is he able to throw the ball away when he has to? Is he bouncing screen passes? These are the little things that I'll be looking at. And of course, like in a perfect world, you don't see Zach Wilson this year unless it's a blowout, and then it's all Aaron Rodgers pretty much for the entirety of the 2023 season and beyond in the next couple of years. But whether you want Zach Wilson to be here for the future and be the reclamation project and think that he could still play in this league, or if you want to move on from Zach Wilson, either one of those options, fine. I don't care what side of the aisle you fall on. You should be rooting for Zach Wilson to play well because, one, if you want to keep him, great. Him playing the best that he can possibly play is, of course, a good thing. And if you want to move on from him, also great, because that could maybe, just maybe, get some sucker to give up a draft pick for the kid in a trade. So it's the best interest for the New York Jets for Zach Wilson to play well. And for, let's be honest, their backup. He's QB2. So you might, hopefully not, but you might need him this year. So I hope that he plays well. Another big storyline is Makai Becton. He is expected to play between 20 and 25 snaps. He has been in and out of training camp. They've taken it slow with him after he was injured last year in training camp. This is a big story because it's been a rocky road for Makai Becton over the last couple of years. Specifically, even recently when he's come back with the knee, he hasn't been phenomenal yet, which is kind of expected, right? He hasn't played meaningful snaps in 2 years since week 1 of the 2021 season. Missed the rest of the year after getting hurt. 2022, unfortunately, gets hurt again. Knee was no good. So I'm curious to see how he holds up in this first 20 to 25 snaps. And we can't even get to the conversation of is he going to win a starting job on this offensive line before we see how he does in game situation, right? Like we could see practice snaps all you want. We can see him running with the second team at left tackle. Will he play on the left side or the right side? My anticipation is that he is going to be playing left tackle for the New York Jets in this game on Thursday, and we'll see what happens. I don't know if he has a legit shot to win that left tackle job. I think once Dwayne Brown's healthy, he gets plugged in there, but right tackle between him, Max Mitchell, and Billy Turner, there's a legit competition going on for that. And right now, Becton's just trying to get up to speed, but this could be a good test to see how far along he is. I'll give you 4 guys, 2 on each side of the ball that I am excited to be looking at and watching for in this game. The first is Jason Brownlee, who has been the star of training camp. Yes, he is probably at best wide receiver 6, right? But there's an open spot now that Denzel Mims isn't here. There's an open spot, and it was between him and Xavier Gibson and Jerome Knapp or Cap. So forgive me. The moral of the story is he is going to get an opportunity to show if his skill set in training camp, what we've seen so far, how legit is it? Can it translate to an in-game situation? That's all the things that I'm trying to find out about him, because he has made plays, whether it be with the second team or the first team, even going back to spring in OTAs. It's not like, oh, this guy just had like 3 good practices. No, Aaron Rodgers specifically called him out at the end of OTAs to say, that he thought he looked good and that he thought he had a good OTA. And then here he comes back to training camp making plays. I love it. And the jump ball yesterday with the one-handed Odell style catch, great. Continue to put up production. I think he is going to be a preseason darling, and I think that he gets a good run here in the first game. Someone who was a preseason darling last year and that is going to get a ton of reps is Bam Knight. I am rooting for Bam Knight to make this roster, and the reason why I say make the roster is because we still have no idea about Dalvin Cook. If Dalvin Cook does sign with the team, one of Bam Knight or Michael Carter, more than likely one of those guys will not be here, unless their other option is that they could put him on but him being Breece Hall on the short-term shelf where, he misses the first 4 games and then you bring him back after that. I don't know if that's what they are going to do in this instance. I'm very curious to see if that's the decision that they that they work with, and that's the one that they end up doing. I don't think that's the case, but Bam's looked good in training camp. When I was there on Sunday, I thought he looked explosive. He had a really good practice on Monday, was explosive again, and this guy can make plays. I think the offensive line was just so bad last year that unfortunately it looked like that he couldn't play, and that most of the running backs looked like they couldn't play, and the numbers at the end of the year weren't pretty because of how bad that line got. On the defensive side of the ball, 2 guys on the defensive line. First, Michael Clemens. He was someone who looked good in the preseason last year, had a nice little rotational role on the Jets last year. He's put on some weight, and I think that he has the potential to move inside and play with a little bit more consistency. He can probably still play on the edge as a big edge like what John Franklin Myers does, but I think that his best purpose on this team and best opportunity to get playing time will be if he kicks inside and is playing on the interior, and I would anticipate him getting a big run. And lastly, Will McDonald. I know a first-round pick, and we were saying that, the stars or, the main guys aren't going to play, but I think we get to see some Will McDonald. He's been, rotating in, and his speed has been really impressive so far in training camp, and we'll see if that's able to make a impression right away from Jump Street here. I would hope that he does get a look, and I'm not saying he plays the whole game, but can he get a quarter? Yeah, I would think that he would be in that first crop of defenders. And again, that speed off the edge is something that really drew the Jets' attention to him, is just how quick he can be. And we heard it. Remember Robert Saleh, hey, game wrecker, when it called him on the phone during the draft, he called him, hey, game wrecker. He's all excited about Will McDonald. And I think he plays a similar role to what Jermaine Johnson was last year for this team. Like, I don't necessarily think he's going to play 50% of snaps, but can he play 25 to 30% of the snaps and give you 4 or 5 sacks in a season? I think that's probably pretty likely as of right now. For the Cleveland Browns side of things, Kellen Mond will start the first half with Dorian Thompson-Robinson getting the second half. DTR, as I will call him, is more of a running quarterback. So I'm curious to see. Now, granted, it's not going to be the starters, right? So it's not going to be like, they struggled. The backup struggled against DTR. So that's going to mean that the whole defense is going to struggle against rushing quarterbacks. But I think it's a good test to see the speed of the defense in the depth, right? Like, can Jamian Sherwood, who I think would get a little bit of playing time this week, can he handle it? And what about the safeties? Will Tony Adams play? He's technically listed as a starter, but as a young guy trying to make that push, maybe he gets a little bit of a run in this preseason game. So I think there is some value in that. And Kellen Mond, Former third-round pick by the Minnesota Vikings. Did not last very long in Minnesota. He then ends up in Cleveland, and now he looks like he's probably going to be QB3 behind Josh Dobbs and Deshaun Watson. So really, it's Mond and DTR battling it out for QB3. But I'm curious to see how the Jets defense handles that rushing quarterback. So it's not going to be one of those previews where I go through like in the regular season and give you stat predictions or who's going to win, who's going to lose. Winner and loser in preseason doesn't really matter a whole lot. Let's pray for health. Let's hope the team gets out healthy. That is the first and most important thing. And let's just look for storylines to follow in this one. That's what I'm going to be doing. Let me know your thoughts on this game down in the comments below. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am Matt O'Leary, and I'll catch you next time.